Okay, guys. Now, often people will hear me talking about being in alignment or being in alignment with your heart. And so I thought it was time that I basically clarified what I'm talking about and give you an understanding of what being in alignment actually is. So when you see me comment or reply with being in alignment, you basically have an understanding of what I am talking about. Now, being in alignment is basically what we need to be when the light from Orion returns and we face judgment, because that is what's coming. We are about to face judgment. Now, I know that when I speak about these subjects that it does sound like I'm preaching and it sounds very religious, but just know there was a reason that they basically pushed all of their herd out to start preaching to the masses. And this is because when the real information started surfacing, that it would just be lost with everything else, and the person relaying the information would just be preaching and therefore ignored. From my own observations, I can see that we have two distinct sides of the coin here. We've got the group of religious people, the religious fanatics, that take everything literally in the Bible, and they think that they will go to hell and all they need to do is front up at church every Sunday and confess their sins for the week, and that's it. They can go on being an asshole to everybody as long as the priest forgives them for it every Sunday. So that's the one extreme we have. And then we have the other extreme, and this is all been programmed and conditioned. The other extreme is the atheists, or those who don't really feel that they are accountable for their behaviors or their actions. So they can pretty much just treat anyone the way they want. They can just step on anyone. They can treat people like shit. They can, thieve, murder, rob, rape, steal, whatever, and they're never going to be accountable. They can just live in a mentality of excess, of gluttony, of materialism and ego. And when I'm talking ego, I'm not talking, gee, you're really in your ego, and that weapon that these new agey people like to use against others. Ego, when I speak of ego, is the projection of your higher self onto the physical plane. So it's basically how you project yourself. It's not really who you are. Really who you are is what your inner voice tells you, what you speak to yourself about when nobody else is around. That's who you really are. The person that you're afraid to be because you don't want to be ridiculed or you don't want to be seen as not fitting in. So the ego projection is basically this false projection that you put up to the world to shield yourself from the ridiculer so that you can fit in, so that you can be part of the crowd, and this is programming once again. They love it when we project ourselves in this way because they can control us, because it's all about fitting in. And if you don't fit in, then you're a freak, you're an outcast, and you're made to feel bad about yourself or that there's something wrong with you. And so we have these two extremes. We have this religious fundamentalism where everything is taken from the Bible as though it's a story of people, and that all you need to do is go to church and be forgiven for your sins every Sunday, that you can carry on like a complete asshole. Or then you've got the other side of it where people just think they can act in any way they feel, that they are not responsible for their behavior and not responsible for anything they do. And at the end of the day, it's never going to matter. And unfortunately, I'm here for those people to tell you that yes, it does matter. It does matter whether you're a good person or not, because your heart is basically your connection to the divine, your connection to God. And what's in your heart is recorded. Everything that you've done for the last 26,000 years in this cycle since you've been birthed as a soul onto the physical plane to experience yourself and for God to experience himself is all recorded. And this is what Thoth shows us in the weighing of the heart ceremony. Thoth is the energy and ability of God to know what is in your heart. And so we were given some basic guidelines when we were first birthed onto this physical realm from God consciousness, the twin souls. We were given the basics, and that was that we were to avoid the 7 flawed soul attributes. That's what I have termed these behaviors that we need to move beyond. And that is wrath, greed, sloth, pride, lust, envy, and gluttony. Now just know that it's not written in stone. It's not that if you err on the side of, lust a bit too much, and that all the other things that you've ever done that are really good in your life are suddenly going to account for nothing. And it's the same with wrath, and it's the same with greed, sloth, pride, lust, envy, gluttony. What it comes down to is being a good person, having good intentions for other people, being helpful when you can. When someone's trying to get in front of you in the traffic, not just like pushing past them and saying, stuff you, you can wait. Finding it within the kindness of your own heart to allow that person to move in. And even if they don't thank you, which is annoying, you just do it because you want to do something nice for others, because that is the way that you want to live your life as a good person with good intentions. You are not responsible for how people react to you when you act in that way. And if people want to react negatively to you, then that is the responsibility they must take for their behaviors. But it shouldn't basically reflect on how you are as a human being, on how you are as a soul, because that is what God is watching. This is what the eye is in the pyramid, at the top of the pyramid. It's not the Illuminati. It's not evil. It's God's watching. That is what the symbolism is saying to you. You are accountable. God knows what you are doing. You have been given the gift of life to live out your soul expression and essence on the physical plane and experience life. And God sees that as a gift. And so when you basically turn that into something that is just about being a negative, miserable human and soul, then you are not going to be rewarded for that. And as I said, I know this sounds like some type of religious preaching. And if that's what you are hearing, then that's fine. Stop the video now, unsub me, leave. That's fine. This information is for those with ears to hear and eyes to see. And that's not everybody, unfortunately. Not everybody is ready for this information. Not everybody is ready to take responsibility for what they've done in this life or previous lives. Most of our karma has been worked through because we are now in the last incarnation before the judgment returns. And I would say that that is nearing, just going by my observations on the political front and the incoming energy, how that's increasing and how that's affecting everything, and how it seems that the ethereal realm and the physical realm are merging a lot more often. And some of us feel sometimes we are walking between the two worlds, and it can be a little bit confusing and sometimes unnerving, because you do feel a little bit like you are going crazy. So this is something that we do need to pay attention to. And as I said, it's not about following it word for word. It's not about questioning yourself every single time you do something, because that's not living. That's actually being enslaved once again into some type of indoctrination. These are just guidelines to say, look, these are not the things that you want to partake in if you yourself want to live a good life as a good soul. That's the most important thing. What happens is we go into lower consciousness, and experience these behaviors more intensely because God wants to sort the shit out. He wants to sort the wheat from the chaff, and so he sets this up so that he can see who fall into this lower consciousness, who fall into this negativity and these behaviors. Because when you are gifted with the highest consciousness, and when we go into Zep Tepi, we are gifted with all knowledge and all knowing. Everything is given to us at that point in time. And there is no way that you would be able to be an evil person with bad intent and be gifted with all knowledge and all knowing, or you would actually have the tools within and the knowledge to destroy God. And so God is not going to destroy himself, and nature never destroys itself. It only ever expands. So this is what happens. We go down in consciousness from the Zep Tepi, which is where we're coming into the first time, the height of consciousness. This is where the ancient Egyptians were, the Sumerians, all of these wonderful, intelligent, and enlightened civilizations that nobody can explain why they just appeared from nowhere. And then we see them slowly descend. And this is what has happened over this 26,000 years. Sometimes we experience peaks of higher consciousness. We also allow ourselves to open up to knowledge within these times. So it's almost like God does release some of this information for us. And this happened in the Renaissance. We saw a lot of this information coming out in the Renaissance. We saw it also in the 1970s. There was also another peak in consciousness. And this is us being prepared for what is coming, so that those that do have the ability to take this information from the divine have an understanding for what's coming. Those that don't, they are disconnected. They've allowed themselves to be separated from Mother Earth. They've allowed themselves to think that they are better than Mother Earth, that they don't need Mother Earth, that Mother Earth is only here just for them, to do with her what they please, to do with other animals and creatures on this planet and treat them in any way. We've allowed ourselves to be removed from the truth, and that is that we are part of Mother Earth. We are connected to her, and there is a reciprocal relationship between the both of us. And without that connection, we cannot actually hook into our intuition and our guidance. We cannot find those messages that are being given to us by the divine. Because when you start paying attention to the synchronicities in your life and to these signs that we get, we don't see them. But this is actually our guidance. This is what God has actually put on our path to help us. But we have to be open to this, just like we have to be open to this incoming energy. If we're not open to this energy, if we're not open to this new perception of reality, the truth of reality, then we're not going to experience it. We're going to continue on basically hardwired into the matrix and going off the cliff with everybody else that's hardwired into the matrix, because that's their reality. That's what's coming for these people. So those of you that are finding this information have found it for a reason. You've found my video for a reason. And as I said, if this is not speaking to you, then perhaps you need to go and find other information that does. But if this is speaking to you, then I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to say, this is the information and knowledge that has been given to me to share. And so I'm now imparting this for you to go and find more information. I'm not going to lay it out on a silver platter for anybody. I will give you the links underneath the video, and then you can go and research into this some more. So that was just a bit of a background of the 7 deadly sins and some information to give you an idea and an understanding of the 7 deadly sins, or the 7 flawed soul attributes. And I will upload the second part to this video, and we will go into these 7 flawed attributes a little bit more. And I will show you some interesting hermetic and alchemy drawings that also give us more information in regards to what they already know. I mean, this is the information that they're hiding from us. Okay, guys, well, as I said, I'll leave it here and I will upload part 2 shortly. As always, peace out.